we're really going to get into ApeCoin and what's happened in the space over the last week and a half since Ape dropped. We're going to start with this awesome trailer from Yuga Labs, and we will see you guys on the other side to talk ApeCoin and these staking and DAO proposals. So see you on the other side.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there, but can't still recall the time we cried, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side.
All right, so I'll let y'all take it away. Tell me what you thought about the trailer. We'll start with Ronan.
Man, I think like to follow up with dropping ApeCoin with like that, right? Like at first, like you're like, oh, this is cool. Like it feels like, they're about to announce something really dope. And then like this freaking submarine emerges and you realize that it's not just the Bored Apes, right? And I think it was a pretty significant moment for everyone, right? Like watching and for the space as a whole to see this ethos of community and partnerships, right, actually come together and see Yuga Labs kind of like leading the charge in that, right? Like they're not here building this like thing by themselves. Right off the rip, they're letting people know, hey, we're here, but we're also here with all of these other communities that have brought so much value to the space through, their innovation and their content and these excellent experiences that come along with for the ride, right? And I think that that's what Web3 is really about, is doing this, but doing it together, not only with your communities, but other communities who align with yours, right? So to me, like this video was like, okay, this is what a metaverse should feel like. It should be us and everybody and all the homies and the whole gang, and everybody should jump on the spaceship to the moon, right? Like, and everybody gets to go. And so I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what Yuga Labs does next. What I think like is most exciting is that that they're not just like throwing these things out and then you're gonna have to wait for 3 years, right? Like they put that thing out, they put like this out, like all of this is timed very, very like purposefully. So like what comes next? Probably a land sale, and then how long until we actually see something tangible? I imagine probably not long.
I think you touch a good point, Ronan, where it kind of showed the inclusivity of all Web3, I guess, projects coming together. Because, I think one thing that a lot of people don't like about the space is sometimes it becomes very tribalism in it, meaning, a lot of these people, if you don't own an ape, you're not part of the team. You don't own a cat or a toad or whatever. You're not in the club with everyone else. But I feel like that trailer kind of showed that Yuga's trying to make something bigger, something wider, and not be so secluded in certain things. And like you said, I think the timing of it was just crazy because we had just announced ApeCoin, I think a few days before. This drops like on late Friday night or Thursday night. I can't remember what it is. But it definitely had everyone talking. It had all the attention being brought into the space, and everyone was talking about it, just coming off the ape hype. And dude, funny thing is, I saw the first leaked trailer, which originally had like a Blancos on the wing, and it was so cool to see because I freaked out. I was like, holy shit, Blancos! And half the people on this chat that I knew didn't even know what Blancos was. And to me, I was like, how can I know? Like, Blancos has been doing this for a year now. They're one of the first, games that were really truly doing it. One of the first companies that were really putting this stuff out there. So maybe something is going to come along the line with blankos. I would love to see that as well. But seeing the final version is still just as good. I'm definitely excited for whatever they have up their sleeve.
John Linden did put out that he put a screenshot of the blankos in the video, and he was like, "Hey, we're congratulations to like Yuga. We're along for the ride." So I guess like they probably just had like an edit because they added like two communities to the inside, so they probably just tweaked it and then. But yeah, no, they're 100% on board.
The video is cool. It really is. It's like an homage to the entire NFT space. I saw some cryptodes in there. I saw some sandbox in there. Like they're just touching on the whole space. And what I love about the Ape token is they're finally letting the regular person get a piece of the pie. I'm trying to find the right words to say this, but like everyone had been priced out of a Bored Ape. No one's got several $100,000 or $1 million to buy a Bored Ape. But now with the addition of the Ape token, guys like you and me can actually participate in this community with a smaller denomination of money. And so I think that's what's really cool with this Ape token. I think it's a really smart move by the project.
Yeah, I totally agree. At the beginning of the show, we were talking about you should buy 1 or 2 NFTs because if you get invested in one, then you don't want to sell it. This makes, who can afford 2 Bored Apes? This makes it a lot easier. So if you're attached to your Bored Ape, you can still sell your coins and realize some profits without having to give up your prized PFP.
Yeah, I want to get a couple different points out here. One, I want to get into staking, but before that, let's talk about the token, right? And the token price. People are getting exposure to the ecosystem now, like Uncle was pointing out, but that means they're going to be exposed to the up and downside. So where do we think the Ape token is going, and do you see like additional utility being released here shortly?
I think in the short term, we're seeing the entire market rally right now. Like we're seeing across the board, everything's up, and even Cardano has come out of its grave. Like it was pretty deep. It was pretty deep in the dirt for a while there. And so what I'm seeing happen is like there's a new rejuvenated sense of like, everyone feels confident about the markets again. And so it actually puts me in this weird place where I'm like, yeah, I'm bullish long-term on the Ape token and I'm bullish long-term on cryptocurrencies. But I also think we might be entering, especially right now in this weekend, an overbought territory where it might behoove a lot of people to wait for the dust to settle a little bit, to let the price action settle. And you might get a more advantageous price point for your Ape token.
Yeah, I think right now there's just a lot of speculation of how it's going to go down, how it's going to be used, how it's going to be utilized in the space. I picked up some after it launched just to try and get it and get some exposure to it and just slowly, little by little, building up a nice bag. But yeah, I think this is for anyone who's not in the space, who's not lucky enough to be in the Bored Ape ecosystem, like our great host here. I think this is definitely a great advantage to you to get in, take advantage of it, and just get a feel for it. Just feel like you're part of it. And I think that's good for everyone. I think that's good for the space. I think it just shows that how much bigger these projects could be, how much utility they can bring. And I'm definitely excited to see what's going to happen come with the land and the teasing they've done with Yuga.
Yeah, and to that point, like I think that what's been really amazing is that anybody can come in, right? You can pick up a little bag of like ApeCoin. If you were watching last weekend, I mean, it got pretty low, right? Like $7-8. And now you can go and you can take part in the proposals and the voting, and you can actually have an effect on the ecosystem. And even if you don't feel like your votes really like count, like if you're holding tokens, like you have a say, you have a voice, right? Like your voice matters, right? Like period. It doesn't matter if you're holding one Ape token. Like you can go into the chat, you can have the conversation, you can be part of it, you can present a proposal, you have exposure to the ecosystem in a way that allows you to actually affect change, because as soon as you have the token, you have access to the ecosystem, and then you have a voice, right? And we've seen what I think is the most amazing part of what we've seen happen with the Ape token, and we talked a little bit before we went live, is that people are partaking in this DAO. People are having the discussion of what's going on with, AIP 4 and 5. In the most amazing flippening, right? To steal a little from Tipo, overnight last night, literally before I went to bed, I cast my vote. I casted against for 4 and 5, specifically because I feel like they're just not clear enough for people to understand what we're voting for, and they need to be clarified. And I think that we also need to add a little addendums because it is very much in favor of those who are holding large bags. And what was amazing to see is that it felt like the vote was already finished yesterday going into it, right? And people were like, and the vote was very much the same votes we have now. It's not like we had an influx of new voters. What happened is people got engaged with the conversation, and they realized that this probably wasn't what was best for the entire ecosystem, and now they flipped their vote, right? So I think that this was probably the first time I've seen a DAO take this conversation online into Discords. I got invited to a private Discord specifically to have that convo today, and see it be so active, and everyone who owns a token, regardless of how much you ask. Nobody asked me how much tokens I had when I posted about it, right? People just engaged with that and said, this is what I think, and I love that that's what you think, and let's talk about this.
Yeah, it's actually working like an actual DAO was meant to be. You know, how it's actually laid out to be worked. And you love to see it because, like you said, it gets engagement, it gets people talking, it gets, I guess, someone put it on Twitter that they thought the apes were just going to ape in and say yes to everything, So it's great that they took the time, read through everything, and then had a discussion what was best for the community as a whole, and not just particular to some certain holders, So yeah, you definitely love to see it, and I'm glad that they took the time. They have to go back, kind of rework things, but it's better to take time with this, especially when coins are involved. There's a lot of money involved in this thing, so you definitely want to get it right. So you're definitely glad to see it, and I guess we'll see what happens now that it looks like the vote is going to go against. So we'll have to go back to the drawing board.
I've just got the FOMO. Geez, I don't have an ape or any ape coins, so it's a painful episode of NFT Live for DJ Savage.
I'm feeling that across the space a little bit, where like people are like almost the amount of coverage that the ape has gotten over the past week and a half. Like, do you guys feel like people are just like kind of rubbing it in your face? Is that kind of the vibe?
I feel like there's two types of apes holders. Let's say there's the Ronins, there's the Qs, and then we have the Franklins who every day have to remind you how many apes they have. And it's like, and trust me, I mean, some of the apes within the community don't like that shit either. I mean, I don't understand. Like, everyone knows you have apes. We get it. You got lucky and you kept stacking apes, and that's awesome. But to be reminded like 10 times a day, every day, how many apes you have, and then the dude's flipping like for 0.05 profit every day. I don't get that either. So yeah, it's great. It's great for the space. I love the coverage. I love that, it's getting the attention it needs as a whole. But yeah, I mean, it does feel like, so the people that are sitting on the sidelines is definitely not as fun,
At the end of the day, I think what I really appreciate about what's going on is the fact that this conversation is being taken over by the entire community, both those who are holders, who aren't holders, and hopefully, like, we can see how this can be approached in a proper way, in a way that can be effective, a way that can grow, really incentivize being part of these ecosystems and collaborating, right? Like taking part in that collaboration over the conversation. And yeah, I think it's been a great, 7 to 10 days in the space for, I think, everybody. I think, this week, all, all NFTs have been moving, which is nice.